Our Father, who
Lord
art
in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, I don't see Retha June Sellers, but we will get this to her, and if she should happen to show later, we will interrupt. But just for the record, Retha June Sellers is retiring as a bus driver from the LaBelle Transportation Department in appreciation for 8 years of faithful service to Hendry County, and we will get this plaque to her in a timely fashion.
All right, thank you, sir. Next item, presentation.
We have a presentation from Lisa Sands, United Way, for a campaign award presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
They're sticky. They just came off the press.
Oh, thank you.
There's one for you.
Thank you.
So for the record, I'm Lisa Sands. I'm the Hendry Glades Manager for United Way. And tonight I'm just simply here to say thank you to the Hendry County School District for your involvement with United Way over the years. For our last campaign, your school district with the employee payroll contributions raised $11,426. Mr. Paletti set a goal of $11,000 and you all exceeded that. So give yourselves a hand. I always use the school district as an example when I'm trying to sign up other organizations or school districts or different companies as how much you can raise. Even though they're not highly paid individuals, they still contribute even if it's $1 per paycheck. And so you should be really proud of the staff and the teachers and everyone that you have. It is the highest contribution through our campaign in our two counties. So very happy for that. And Dr. Mundy, I just want to say a special thank you. Mr. Paletti allowed me to work with her to get into the schools this last year. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that again. We kick off our campaign. You have the new brochure in your hands. We kick it off October 15th. There are 28 agencies that we are looking to fund again this year. You'll see the programs listed. There are over 60 of them for Hendry and Glades counties. We have one new program called Dress for Success that's coming into the area. Pretty much the rest of them are all the same as last year. So that's going to be a neat program for women that are looking to get into the workforce. So there'll be more to come about that. But I just have a small plaque here thank you for making our community a better place for all of us. This award is presented to the employees of Hendry County School District for our 2018-2019 campaign. I'd like to take a picture if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Can I get Dr. Mundy up here too?
Sure.
She's a friend. All of you, everybody. Yeah, I just want to include her, sorry. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Can we just stand back here? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Well,
Will it fit? Will we get everybody?
can
Let's
y'all
go around. We look
split
weird.
or come around?
Oh, okay.
It's going in your head.
Thank you.
Stand by you so I look taller.
Can you get everybody?
Short person up front?
Up front, you wrong for that.
Yes,
Okay.
Because I love you.
I'll take a couple.
Yes,
1, 2, 3. Take another 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay.
Everybody.
Hold it up high,
I don't know
Douglas.
if
I can't. Is that what you're supposed to do?
Didn't Stephanie teach you anything?
You didn't take. Oh, you did not take that. I look like a bus.
I took some of it.
Straight on first. You want to redo it?
Scott Bass.
Are you going to sit on the tables?
Before you leave, I do
You're
want
on the front of
to
the brochure though.
say, before you go away, I want to say something
Okay.
about one of the reasons I believe that Hendry County Schools is so receptive is because we see in our classrooms firsthand the needs that our students have and the agencies that could help provide those needs.
Right.
And so I think that's why it might be easier to talk to us
Yeah,
than somebody who may not see those needs.
right.
But thank you for your work and thank you for the work you do with the agencies to help our students.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? No, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
So this here, probably walk off and forget it, but that's where it
Do you have any citizen comments on any agenda item? You may at this time. Any going once, twice? Thank you. Next item, sir.
Next item, old business. We have those policies that I pulled at the last meeting. And I hope that you looked at it. The issue is certain language or categories of people that are included that is not a requirement of the law. So if it's okay with the board, I need direction from the board. Let me rephrase this. In order for me to make those changes, I need to know that it's agreeable to the board because I have to recommend those changes to you. So if you could let me know what you might think about them or not.
We're talking about the ones that are, like the anti-harassment.
Those.
Okay, so those were modified, those were last revised on June 18th. And so they've taken on that additional, that language that was, they mirror the language that's in policy 1362.
That was there, and we are having a lot of issues with our policies because of what we're having to do, and we're catching this stuff. And I'm not sure the board is fully aware of what was there. You know, when you have policy language that's good for Miami-Dade, it may not fit in Hendry. So that's what I want. You may be fine with it. Don't have a problem with it, if you are. I just want to bring it to your attention that that language is there.
I mean, when I pulled it and compared it to 1362, it mirrors the language there, which was a request on my behalf to change that. But this, I mean, it didn't, this is showing that this has already been revised to mirror that same language.
Okay,
What do you-
tell me that one more time, 1362?
1362 was the original one that was amended.
Yeah, if I could comment on that, it's one thing to have that language in a no harassment policy, but it's quite another to prohibit discrimination and all those other things. You're buying into a set of issues that you may not want to buy into, and you're not required by law in those policies to have that.
So the protected classes, is that what you're
Yeah,
talking
you're
about?
creating a new protected class, and that's something that I would say you want to do with your eyes open. I didn't look at the harassment policy from that point of view. I don't think that same reasoning applies, if I'm getting my point across.
Okay, so I have 1362, which is an anti-harassment, 3122, non-discrimination, and EEO.
1122, yeah, the whole laundry list there are 3 or 4 of them.
Why don't we send this, why don't you direct me to send this to the attorney for him to say this one, but not that one, this one, but not that one. And then, I mean, it's not as if the sky is gonna fall in on us as long as we're working on it. But if you want, we can do it that way.
I'm agreeable to that.
Anyone else?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Mr. McKinley is is saying that we may not necessarily need to adopt some of this, then
That's right.
I think that is.
That's why I pulled it, so we didn't just go blindly down that road.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. Let's let Mr. McKinley go through that.
I'll do my best.
We don't need it, we just need it.
You're gonna roll it, continue it.
You're just telling me to ask him to look at it, it's just continuing.
Okay, ask him.
Pardon?
I'm just telling you, like, ask him.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, next item, sir, new personnel application. Next item.
Okay.
That went off over here.
All right, this is a new personnel allocation request for the VPK paraprofessional at Montura. This is paid for under the VPK budget. It's not general funding. This particular person was someone who we contracted with, and the IRS has come by and said she's not a contract employee. But she's doing a service that we need done. And so we want to pay her out of VPK for Montura. She's there early for the kids. She helps transport students. She does any kind of thing that needs to happen out
Parent
there.
liaison.
Yeah. So I would recommend approval of this. It's
Everything.
not hitting our general fund, and that's what we're doing right now. Any new allocation has to have a funding source that's, we're looking at.
We have a recommendation,
That's, my recommendation is to approve this.
So moved. Second.
discussion. No discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, sir.
Okay, next item is the consent agenda. I recommend approval of the consent agenda. And I want to explain, if you go to number 5, letter E, supplements, you're not gonna get all of the supplements at this time, but I want you to, I want to explain why. And if you would, look at the elementary school supplements, okay? That is reflective of exactly what I'm talking about. There might be a school improvement issue or something that they have used their supplements for. So you're gonna see 6 elementary schools with different supplements, all right? That language, that is allowed under language in the employment contract. I have pulled secondary, I think I have let middle school go through, but I've pulled Clewiston Middle School, LaBelle High School, and Clewiston High School, because we can apply that same language to those supplement schedules. And instead of saying that we have a coach in a sport that does not exist, we can, per school, say what it is, okay? Not spending more money, taking that same amount of money, and for instance, if they need an assistant athletic director, that's what the supplement will say, with the amount of money that is currently going to that person for either a program that doesn't exist or a position that's not done. Now, once we dig into this, we also, you have to understand how high school people think. Is Clewiston the only one doing this? No. Lo and behold, when we look through LaBelle High School, we find coaching supplements that are being used for a person to assist the AD. So they're both doing the same thing, but what I'm saying is I'm pulling that, we're going to get together with all the principals, both principals and anyone else, and we're gonna give you, point by point, a supplement schedule that says what it is without increasing the overall bottom line. At that point, we will then have the supplement schedule with the cost, the salary listed. Okay, so that's why you don't have it now, because I don't want to do it unless I do it all at once for you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I want to thank Mr. Paletti and Dr. Egley. We met on Friday and discussed quite a bit of this.
Okay.
And so I do appreciate them diving into this. I think it just brings a lot more clarity to the table, you know, and that's what I've been after. Listen, I think all of our teachers, our coaches, everybody that receives supplements from us, probably deserves 3 times what we're actually paying them for those supplements. I don't have a problem paying the supplements. I just think that,
we're just gonna
that
show.
we need clarity on it, and I
The
think that's what we're
elementary
doing.
people do it. And then we were researching today and found the contract language that allows it everywhere, so we're gonna do that. Because West Side has a different than LaBelle Elementary, than Country Oaks, than Central.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's allowable.
When we do the list that you're talking about, when we get a full list of everybody, sports, teachers, everything, we're gonna have a job description, or a actual
The
description.
job descriptions are out
with
there.
them as well.
Okay, they're out there to the principals of the schools.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a matter of time before we get them back.
Right.
Okay, now, that might be that I can't, we may not wanna wait that long for the entire package to come to you. But I think the crucial thing is, once I get the costs and what they're called, get that to you, then the other thing can fall in place with that.
Yeah, I mean, we're headed in the right direction. It's not a
Okay.
overnight fix. I do appreciate the.
But we're moving the right direction.
We're headed in the right direction, I do believe, yes, absolutely. Thank you guys very
We
much.
appreciate.
So, I would recommend approval of the consent agenda with that one stipulation.
We have a recommendation,
So moved.
Second.
discussion on other items.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I was gonna ask Ms. Riccardi if she could walk us through the annual financial report, just to make sure that, everybody's completely understanding everything, and then I was gonna ask her how we were coming. Ms. Pletty, do you know, is she close by, or, I know she had a little detour.
I'm not sure quite where she is, and I'm not sure if I count her, if I won't push her over the edge, but, she should be showing up within the next 20 minutes.
Okay. Since we were talking about the policies earlier, I was looking through the Neola policies, some of the stuff with Neola. I'm understanding this right, we paid them $25,000, $25,635 up to current, is that correct? That was in there, in the packet there, on page, what page was that? Somewhere on page 30, I think it was. We'll make sure I'm looking at that correctly.
You said we paying Neola 25?
635 was the number I found. I gotta see which page I found that on here. I think that was as of up to date. I wanna make sure that I'm not misinterpreting that.
You want me to go to someone and come back? Was I'm asking
Sir?
you. You mean to go to someone else and come back to you?
If somebody else has something else, that would be great. I will find that, tell you exactly which page it was on.
You don't have anything else you
Page 27 on the Neola agreement.
27, thank you, sir.
Okay.
I mean, I can go on to other things, we can come back to the consent agenda, if that's what,
Yeah, you will.
you'll find some time there.
Yeah, that's it, that's it.
All right.
On
Okay,
27.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll come back to
I see
that.
27 on the second paragraph.
Yeah.
What page is he on?
27.
Page 27 under
Of
the
the
Neola
Neola
contract.
Okay.
So, Neola's consultation and other good and valuable consideration provided by Neola. The district has paid Neola $25,900 but that doesn't add up to the total, or that's different than what is in parentheses.
What page said, 127?
Yes, sir. Parentheses, it says 25,635.
Okay, I got it.
Is that,
There's some additional charges
Yes, ma'am.
that are listed on other pages, and that's probably why it doesn't add up. Plus, if you do trainings, that is added on.
so that's not
There
all
are
that we have
fees.
paid them then?
I think that is all that we have paid them. It's just those fees, the payments that you make every 3 months, I guess the quarterly payments. There's other payments in addition to those.
So these, you're saying like that 1635, then 1600,
Correct.
1600?
Correct. Like, I just did a purchase order for the new update that's coming out. So we usually get 2 updates a year. So there are some additional charges, and it's noted in here.
Okay, and that's what I was gonna ask. So we're getting updated twice a year on every policy that we have?
We get updates according to Florida statute changes, the legislature.
Usually one batch is from whatever the legislature did to us.
Okay.
So any changes that are required come in that batch. And then there's a federal batch of new federal laws, and they also do a lot of stuff through the federal regulations. So the idea of the other one is state and one's federal. You get one a year.
Sometimes, no, I think there's, one of each. They usually do. And sometimes, like last year, we had a couple special ones due to all the school security
Right.
laws that came through. So sometimes there's even more.
And-
So there's fees in addition to this for that.
Right.
This contract's, I believe, it's a 48-month.
And it caps out if they have to do more than twice in a year, it will only $2,900.
We pay for the 2, is that what you're
Is
saying?
if they had to do it 4 times in the year, right? So like the security updates, if they came out 3 or 4 times, $2,900 is all we pay them.
I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know for sure.
Is that, that was on.
Well, I would have to go back and look at past purchase orders to verify all that. I just was looking through the agreement and was looking at the same things that you saw.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that, and then, and then it says here with consultations for, I guess they're telling us they provide up to 3.5 hours for consultations for updates, for any regular update. Now, who are they? Are they coming to the district and actually here?
When they first started, yes, they did, and that's what took, there were more than 3.5 hours of consultation. Because all of us had to, including the board, if you'll recall.
Yes.
You had to go through that consult where they went through all of these things.
Mhm.
So what they can do now is that since we've gone over that big hurdle, anything that comes from the state, they can consult with us via the phone or however they do it, text or, email of that nature, because we don't have anything that big like we did when we got everything in line. Conceivably, now that we have caught up with everything, you can see less need for consult, because we were having to call saying, okay, where is this? Why is this not happening?
Right.
What have we done wrong here that it's not being, these changes are not being reflected in our policies? And so we've had to do a whole bunch of that we're not gonna have to do anymore.
Right. Well, that's what I was wondering, because if they're charging us, they're allowing 3.5 hours, it says 1 hour for preparation, then 2.5 hour face-to-face. So, basically, now that we've gotten the big chunk of everything out of the way, is there a way to, lessen something like this? If it's gonna save us a little money some way, somehow, is what I'm thinking.
It could, Mr. Basquin, but
Made up of 3 different sections, but the biggest, the management discussion analysis, that's the very first section. I think it starts on board package page 3. You can see I identified the page numbers as board package page 3. The MD&A gives you, the board, just the executive summary of all the numbers. Then it goes into in-depth in the numbers. Then the very last section, or part of the last section, is the notes to the financials. Any of the financial statements need to be taken into consideration with the notes. The notes will explain things like the financial policies that back them up. It is, so in summary, I think if I was going to go over anything, I would read the financial highlights, but I believe that because we've already been over the general fund and we've already been through all of these numbers within the budget, and nothing changed, except that when you do a financial report, you end up having to, this records depreciation, OPEB, other post-employment benefits, and pension benefits. So those are recorded in the financials, which are not recorded in the reports that we presented earlier. So what can I tell you about this financial report that would make it exciting or,
We don't have enough time to try to figure that much of
Yeah,
it.
right.
There's a lot to it.
Right, and I don't feel like, these aren't my numbers to tell you, this isn't my story to tell you. At
Right.
this point, I was copying down numbers that somebody else had prepared, that somebody else had gone through. Next year, this time, these are going to be numbers that we all prepared together, that all of us were in hands-on. There is one section of this report, I think it's between financial highlights and overview and financial statements, that is probably my favorite part, is what have we accomplished during the year? I wasn't able to do that because I wasn't here. That's probably one of the most interesting things. So you could say, if I spent almost $100 million, and you didn't, but you spent, you've got that number right here, you expended $70 million last year, $70.5 million. Next year, we want to be able to say, well, we spent that $70 million, these are the things we accomplished. So that's where this report should take you. I didn't take you there this year. I was not, it's not part of, there's just, depends on how well Mr. Paletti and I can work together over the next year, but we could probably make that into pages and pages, but we did not do that for this portion of the year. Is that kind of where you're?
Yes, ma'am, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, like I said, this report definitely meets the requirements, and it's not even, I'm not even gonna say it's gonna be accurate. I compared, when I was preparing this, when I was looking at the 2017, the 2018 reports and comparing them to what the auditors did. In both of those, the auditors' reports were so different from what either Michael or Mr. Veal, either Mr. Yanisek or Mr. Veal prepared. So even though we do it, the numbers are gonna change even when the auditors come in and fix it, because they will be saying, oh, well, you booked this as a capital expense, and in theory, it's just a lease expense. So there will be changes that the auditors will come in and make.
Okay.
I had one, can I jump in with one other thing? Because you had asked last 2 weeks ago, about the number of purchase orders.
Yes.
Did you want me to answer that question while I'm up
Yeah,
here?
go ahead.
Okay. In last fiscal year, in FY 18-19, the school district issued 33,660 purchase orders for $15.8 million. So that's big picture. Over 15,000, remember that's your breaking point, that's the ones you did. There were 113 of those, totaling 9.26 million, or 58%, almost 60% of the ones are come to the board. So that's, I think, what you were looking for. What percentage are the ones that you guys, that you, the board, are looking at? The grouping of $10,000 to 15,000, there's 134 of those. So all of a sudden it goes from 113 to, there's a huge number that's in there, that if you asked for the amount above $10,000 instead of the amount above $15,000, you end up getting more than double the number, but you're only getting $2 million more. So you'd go from 9.2 million to $11 million worth of the expenditures, or you'd almost be hitting 70% of your expenditures. So I put this in a little spreadsheet for you all that I could pass out, but I think that my point in all that is you get such an incrementally smaller return on your investment of time, if you will, if we decrease the dollar value. I was trying to go the other way. I didn't, but I was trying to go the other way. So what if we increased it instead of over 15,000 to 20,000? I thought that would even be better. But since that didn't seem to be your direction, I didn't print out any of those numbers. So that was, does that kind of get to where you were headed with that? And I'd be happy to give you these numbers so that you can.
Yeah, that gives me a little better idea on what we're spending In what ranges?
Right, and I do want to mention, these are my notes, that of this report, these are purchase orders. If you issue a purchase order for $2,000, you don't necessarily expend the entire $2,000. So this is just the amount of purchase orders. It does not necessarily reflect what was spent, but it does reflect the number of purchase orders that were issued. Does that, I think that's sort of, that'll give you all a basis if you'd like to change something, or keep it the same. But remember, if we do change it, that puts more, it just makes your agenda packet bigger, and I'm not sure what we gain. Now, I could break down, I didn't break it down between the $10,000 to $15,000 even more, if you had another break point. I just picked those.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
I did have another question. I know that you were talking about the double counting of numbers in the budget at one point in time. And you were going to be diving into that after you got the budget finished and sent off. And hopefully we were going to have some more.
Right, and part of that is, and I want to thank Leslie, the IT director as well, because part of that is going to be, as we enhance the monthly reports, that will also help me see. She's helping me develop some monthly reports to the board instead of the old formats that we had, that will help us say, gosh, you budgeted $1 million in this line item, why haven't you spent any? Oh, you've budgeted, so that will be something that will help my staff that we're working on right now. So yes, we just started that. I think my staff contacted her staff just this past week to start working on those
Start
programs.
working on that stuff. So when do you think you may be completely through all of that to see if you're going to be, if you're going to find what you were thinking that you were going to find?
I was hoping to get the reports this week, so,
Right.
well, I'm off.
That is months down the road.
Right, thank you, that is months down the road. Getting a good monthly report to you is the goal for the next, is for next month. So that will certainly be a help, but that's not going to be as much as what you said, the harder part. But I think we'll all be finding it then.
Well, yeah, well, because like finding that $4 million exactly that you were talking about earlier is what I'm,
I think we'll all be seeing it, or we'll all be not seeing it, and that would be scary. But I think we're all going to be seeing it once we start getting some decent financial reporting.
I'm sorry. That was not seeing it.
Right, well, is that a possibility? Absolutely. What if I'm wrong? You all know I have 8 weeks here.
right.
What if I'm wrong? Right? That's why get me back into my office and make me finish this up quicker rather than later. I think that's your answer. Right? Yes, I'm sorry, that's all I can do.
And
Well,
that's-
as somebody who is elected by my constituents to be like a good steward of money, when I hear, last week, is there any possibility of fraud or this is not gonna show up? No,
there's
it's
no
all,
fraud.
it's not gonna show, you're not gonna have a problem with that. And now I'm hearing, oh, well, we need, this is urgent. This is number one. And to hear, it may not be here. And, as the clock runs, it's no benefit to my constituents. And it is no benefit to the representation of the constituents on this board. There's very
Understood.
few people a running clock helps out in this situation. And, I don't know if this is the place for it, or when we just need to approve this consent agenda, but maybe I need to reserve my comments for board member business. But being casual about may or may not showing up, or being casual about, it's gonna take a while, like, priority number one.
I'm not going to disagree with you that it is priority number one.
And the reason it is gonna take a while is not to take this lightly, because we could rush into something and be that way. And I would much rather Ms. Riccardi tell you, we think this is what's gonna happen, but bear in mind, but all I can tell you folks at this point is that much money you would have seen go somewhere. You would have seen it go somewhere, and there was no new program. We did not give extravagant raises. We did not have big hires of people. As a matter of fact, we cut. And those cuts are visible in the last year's budget. So what we're saying, and if you'll recall, just in a matter of days, when I said that can't be right, it went up almost $1.3 million. All right, so now that we're getting all of this out of the way, it is with all, to coin a legal phrase, deliberate speed, that we will go into this. But we will be very, very thorough so that by the time we get to you, we're gonna show it. You will have the figure. All right, so it's really not, it is always appropriate to be concerned. I don't think we need to, until we start seeing that, yes, there is some reason for more than concern, that you wait until we give you the figures. And we have the right person in the spot who's going to delve into it, who called right away almost and said, well, here's part of the problem. So let's let it run its course and let's see where we are. But we're not gonna hang the district out. You think I answer to more constituents than you answer to, because I was elected countywide. So, you know, it's not to anybody's benefit for this to be less than transparent and there, okay? Now, true, I'm leaving office, but do you think I want to leave office with that kind of legacy? No.
Have
I don't.
other superintendents
Pardon?
left us in financial issues before? I mean, it happens, it's the nature of the beast.
But I can't, but you just have, again, and
Well,
this is what I expressed
I don't think that
previously.
I'm like necessarily other superintendents, and I won't be leaving you there, okay? So,
We will get through this, so I
Yeah.
think that's, but
and I think
we certainly
Ms.
try to alarm you if
Riccardi
necessary.
is very,
And reassure you when possible.
upfront saying, you have to keep in mind, what if? Well, we operate on what ifs every day of the world in the education business. What if we fall 1,000 FTE? What if our FTE falls? Even though, you know, that's not a number we snatch out of the air, those are models we use from the state. Okay, and we use the most conservative models we have. The only time we really messed up is when a previous person who was in charge of FTE inadvertently counted the pre-K students. And that's where we got that first big hit. And that's when I said, okay, more eyes are gonna be looking at this from now on. So it's like, what if? The whole budget is a what if.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
to my fellow board members, what if we contracted out a CPA firm to do an audit, which would then help you with their findings? What does the board think about that?
I have strong opinions. Would you like?
I think we probably should,
I
at
think
this
that's
point
our
now,
CFO.
as she's come in, and sometimes the truth is eye-opening, and I prefer to have her dig through like she's doing, than at least give her a chance to find out
Okay.
where we are. And then at the end, after she reset.
That's true. We'll reset.
Right, let's see, we've had some finance people that were jacked up and wasn't telling us everything. Now we got somebody telling us something that is not really like happy to hear, but if it's true, we've got to deal with it now and then come on.
Okay.
I mean, I don't wanna be, you know, financially, whatever you would call it,
Mr. Chairman.
but, yeah.
And I want to reiterate, and explain to you that, like, my angst is not directed at you. My angst is, you know, I'm looking at the situation globally, and we've had 3 CFOs in a matter of a year. And we've brought in a relief pitcher for Mr. Veal, and in that capacity. And so, you know, like, just some comments I've heard you say, this is not my story, not my numbers. I want to make sure, like, I mean, I agree with Mr. Basco, and I think that there needs to be, with those many hands in this, stirring the pot there, I just think that even just to protect you potentially from what may come down the road as an independent person that says, we're going to shore this up after the end of the reign of two other CFOs, because we, I think the board came to the consensus on your predecessor that wasn't getting the job done. There was concerns vocalized that led for the creation of this opportunity for you to be the CFO and to move on. And I just think that there's just a lot of questions I have there, and a lot of trust that I should have in that position, in your predecessor's performance. I don't have that. And so my angst is not directed at you, and my desire for, and like what Mr. Basquin was describing, is not directed at you, it's directed at what has possibly happened before you came along.
I believe that, no, I know that I can find anything before an auditor firm, before you could select, hire, and initiate an auditing firm to come in and do anything. So that's, to answer your question, you're better off with me getting it done sooner. By the time we bid it out, spent the $45,000 to get some auditors in, they're not going to be able to do anything that I wouldn't be able to do. Because really what I'm doing, remember, I'm not really auditing as much as I'm comparing budget to actual, budget to history, actual to history. I'm going to try to find some trends that we misbudgeted, which is different. The state of Florida comes in and does a audit. They do two audits. They do a performance and operational audit. So they do a performance and an operational audit. So your data is already be audited by professional auditors, and they were surprisingly good. I talked to them, and they're surprisingly good. I don't know whether or not to deal with the state of Florida Auditor General. My friends and I were laughing because we had no idea that they brought that type of professionalism to the table. And so I think from that end, my staff tells me they spend hours, days, weeks, months here that we don't feel like they ever leave. So they spend the time, they invest time in ensuring that our data records are correct and that we're in compliance with policy. The operational audit does the same thing. They want to make sure that we are not in violation of any of our policies. So that is already covered. What we're looking for now is a little bit more along the lines of, it's more the meat and potatoes of what we're doing on a daily basis. Did we budget properly? Where did my numbers come from? What is the source of that? As we said previously, one of the biggest keys for next year is going to be doing that reset. But how can we reset the button for a future budget if we don't know what we're spending?
Right.
If we don't know what we've spent. I do know what we spent, and as we said, we've, in this annual financial report, and previously, we had a $1.48 million surplus in the general fund. That is, we budgeted a deficit, we came out with a surplus. That's a pretty big variance. If you we went from a $4 million variance, or a $4 million deficit, to a 1.4 surplus. That's a pretty wide swing. Mm-hmm. We want to find out, and I'm sure
where it is.
Yeah, we want to find out where it is.
Right.
My staff and I have sat down, sat down today, waiting for this to get puffed off so we can focus on the next step, which is how can we present this data, how can we find the data? So I don't want to say I have all hands on deck because we still have a full-time job, but we have a few hands on deck trying to fix this problem. It's not even a problem, to fix this situation. And if I sounded flippant about hoping that we find it, if we don't, what would happen? I tell you what would happen. I would go running to him and say, we're going to be spending more money than I'm even wronger. I'm even more wrong. So I'm going to run it up the flagpole, but I'm not going to. I don't expect that based on all of our conversations. I don't expect it based on what I've seen in the budget. I don't expect it. But you've got to give me time to do it.
Can I just say a few more things? I get what you're saying. I understand it. Believe me, I was extremely, very much concerned when those first numbers came to me. But what Ms. Riccardi is going to be doing, comparing actuals to expenditures to what's there, is going line by line by line. I've also tasked her to see in the categoricals, are there things that we're paying out of the general fund that could be charged there?
Or should be charged, yeah.
That should be charged there. So that's in addition to the line by line by line thing that I've asked her to do, I said, now let's look at this. because we have a whole bunch of new categoricals that came through, and did we charge it off the correct way?
Right.
If we see that our crystal ball is not correct, and it's not really a crystal ball, if our assumptions are not correct, I would support getting an accounting firm in here, okay? But that's very expensive, and on top of everything we've asked them to do, it puts them in the way of what we're asking our own folks to do, because you're adding another, so I would support giving us a few months to look at this, because we wanted all of this to be done at the same time that we're gonna be including the board more drastically in the budgeting process.
Right.
That your desire to get a CPA firm to come in and do an audit may be premature. It may not be needed. And one of the last things you need to do right now is to spend multiple thousands of dollars in the event that you don't need to do it. So let's follow the plan. Ms. McCarty said, or it may not be, okay, she's just throwing that out there, it may not be, all right? But it's not like we suspect that that's not gonna be there, it's just like a warning, okay? It's there, but all I can do is assure you that you would have picked up on some sort of excessive spending that was going on through your financial reporting, okay? And we don't anticipate or see that there was anything that was untoward happening in the funds, okay? Because I have to be interviewed every year that the auditor comes in. So if you would just consider, before we do this, let us work, if you want to give us a deadline, give us a deadline. Okay, but let's look at it and see where we are before we press the hallelujah button or we press the it's time to panic button.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Ms. McCarty, I understand, you've had a lot thrown at you since you've been here. You came in at a tough time, I do understand that. In fairness to you and allowing you time, do you feel a couple of months would give you a better window
Couple of months is
by,
plenty for me, yes,
by December the 1st?
absolutely.
Would you say that you would have a
Yes,
clear
sir.
window of whether we need to jump out of it or
Yes.
whether we're,
Actually, that would be doable, that's doable for me.
okay?
Yeah.
I just don't wanna get too far down the line
You're not gonna
in this
get-
budget, and then we've got a major catastrophe, and,
Okay.
you know, I am extremely concerned about it, as you guys know, and it was, I mean, I voted no on the budget. I think that it was, I don't like the deficit, I think that,
We, by law, cannot have a deficit.
well, the budgeted deficit, excuse me.
The budgeted
The
deficit.
budgeted deficit.
Okay, so that's the issue that we're looking at.
I did not like
We
that.
cannot operate on a budgeted deficit.
And so I
The
just.
state is not breathing down our necks. We have maintained the fund balances that we're supposed to be maintaining.
I understand that. We just continue to grow that budgeted deficit. We continue to run the wrong way with it. I'd like to reel it back in and go back the other
And my
way.
concern is that we ran too far the wrong way, that it's not an actual figure.
And that's,
Okay.
well, and that's what,
That's
why we
what
are
I
where we are
wanted to
today.
find out.
And so,
So.
I don't know how the rest of the board, if you guys feel December by then, if not, then if they don't have what we're happy with, we start getting, quotes from CPA firms. I don't know what the rest of the board feels. Any comments? Is that fair?
I think we should, if she said December would be
Easy.
easy, okay, let's look
Just
at
wait until December.
December before we,
Fine with that.
go that way.
And even if you wanted to, I don't think we can get an auditor started before then right now.
What about an RFP, to have the RFP queued up, so if things aren't going right in December, bam, we're ready to
I'll
roll?
have an answer way before then.
have an answer before then.
It might not be a bad idea, though, just to put out a request for proposal.
Well, just to even have it queued up like you approved the RFP and have it ready and approved.
Okay.
I mean, that wouldn't take a whole lot of anything to at least have that prepared. And if we have to, then we've got,
And give us
we
time to
already,
think about how I want to format it too, so,
yeah.
for y'all. We can do that. I can come up with a
And
outline.
I am telling you that I believe that we're going to be finding this money. Now, can
I hope so.
I explain where? Not until we look at it thoroughly, but to think, you know, I'm not gonna use the words trust me, but we have never had to release somebody because of budget constraints. I've never come before you with something that was not sustainable. Every single thing that I've done since I've been superintendent, including last year, was prefaced with, is this sustainable? And I brought it to the board. So nothing that I did showed that kind of drop. Now, we have a whole bunch of new categoricals, and that's what I'm thinking, there might be some money that we did not appropriately charge to that. I really think we're carrying money and counting it twice, because there's simply no way that you would have seen that what did I build? What did we buy? Who did we hire? What kind of raise did we give? You know, none of those things that you would automatically think of happened. I didn't ask the board to do any of that.
And we're not accusing you of that, we're just,
Well, it sort of feels like it, because I'm being told, once you leave office, you're gonna leave us a mess. So it
Nobody
does,
said that.
well, that's how I took it. And I am reporting to work every single day. I'm very much engaged. I'm in contact with everyone. I do not want to leave a legacy of leaving the place worse off than what I came in on, okay? And when you look at what we've done and how we have done the things, we are very close to being a D district. We have one D school that missed it by 1 point. That's still a D, I understand that, but we can do some work there. Financially, when I came in, we had severe academic issues. And should I have left those go? Or should we have addressed trying to improve student growth and achievement? And I guarantee if I had let those go, you would be talking to a different set of people than you're talking to now. Because we were headed down a path that was not gonna be pretty. Clewiston High School was on the verge of getting another F. Clewiston Middle School came off of 2 Fs. Okay, so we had to start putting money into those places. And I appreciate what the board's feelings are. But had we ignored the academic issue, I think you can be sitting pretty with a bunch of money and explaining to the state, why didn't you spend it on the academics? Because that's what they would be asking you.
I don't think that we are, I'm not disputing the fact that we put money where it was needed. That, I don't believe anybody is disputing that fact, that we've spent dollars trying to improve our school system, and some things worked, some didn't. That's part of the way life goes. I don't think anybody's disputing that. I think what we are concerned about is that the budget deficit continues to grow, and we just want to make sure that we aren't going to end up in a bad situation, that everything is sustainable, and by just having a request for the proposal ready to go in the event, it's not a big deal to prepare, it doesn't sound like, so.
I don't have a problem with that, but you know, we're the people who came and said, listen, look here. We're not comfortable with this figure, and we've met with each of you, okay, about that. So it's not as if we're even trying to be less than transparent on that.
I don't think anybody's accused of that.
So let us have until December 1st. I think you're gonna see we have done nothing with our HESPA sitting right there, and we have done nothing with HESPA. Okay, there have been no new allocations that have come to you that are not funded generally outside the general fund.
Right.
Okay, so those types of things are going on. I'm gonna warn you right now, I'm gonna be pulling this week some elementary numbers. And we may be over in class size. It might be cheaper for us to take the hit again rather than hire more people. I don't know that, but I'm gonna be pulling those numbers, because if you're 8 over in like second grade or third grade in a school, is it worth hiring another teacher? And no, it's not. We're also gonna be waiting in October to see what our numbers look like. And we darn near budgeted or guesstimated, was it a 0 growth or a decline?
Decline.
We budgeted a decline for FTE. Okay, so we need to look at those numbers also. So all of that's going on there. It's not, it's like, I'm the person least happy with this information right now. I don't think you can understand how upset I was when that was presented to me. And within a matter of days, we found $1.3 million more. There's more in the budget. Slap dab convinced, but I have to put that caveat out there, what if? Okay, so we will have all this done by December 1st. We will have some idea to give you a good feeling of where it is, and we'll have the RFP for a firm. Now, you might want to get somebody, but that's not my call. You might want to direct where did this happen? Okay, I'm not sure that firm can say where did that happen better than what Anne Marie can do.
I think that is my concern, is that I don't think
Yeah.
that, that's not what an auditor would normally do. That's not within their purview, but again, I will work on drafting up something that hopefully can achieve that.
Because an audit basically is the money received and it get deposited. And that's what they do. We're talking about going deeper than that. And if you hire a firm to do that, you're not talking $30,000 or $40,000, you're talking into the 6 figures. If you hire somebody to come do that, let us do that. And then let's see what's going on by December 1.
Sounds good, I think we're,
I have to say one more thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, and I don't want you to think we were, I was attacking you with that comment. You know, I know that we had talked before about how situations like this have happened with previous superintendents. You know, but we spent all last year being told everything's great, everything's good, we're not in financial crisis. Like, we heard that narrative every week. And then the following week was like, yeah, we got this money, but we can't like show it to you on paper right now. And then, I mean, that was.
And Ms. Busen, how do you think I felt as superintendent to have been told the same things, and then all of a sudden you don't have it? Well, it would have been really nice if somebody had thrown a flag, and they didn't. Okay?
And that's where like
So,
where I'm
okay,
struggling.
maybe you're struggling probably the same way I was when they first bounced it on my desk. That there's no way.
And
But
we got
this-
ourselves into this mess or this conundrum here, and it concerns me that we've had that turnover in that position, and now we're going to check ourselves. That's like me self-evaluating myself. I'm like, oh yes, I'm charming and wonderful, but like, what is it? What is it really? Like,
Yeah.
is you know, that's not, it's perception and reality.
That's why we kept talking about the reset. The reset.
All right. December
I
1.
will quit having my feelings hurt.
We gotta be tough.
Okay?
We all have to be tough here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Stay laser focused.
Okay. Anything else on the consent agenda? Let's see what we can move along.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You finished, John?
I'm good, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
All right, I'm done with consent.
You're done with consent. Okay. No further questions on the consent agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item. Which is
Will that be?
board member business.
If y'all will allow me to go first.
Okay.
FSBA FAD's annual joint conference is December 4th through 6th. I need to do some sort of poll now for board members who want to go. Remember, registration needs to happen and hotel reservations go quickly.
I'm in.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The other thing I want to add that you may want to be interested in doing is that Christine Peterson's Public Service Academy will be highlighted at this as part of the, a walk that they're going to do with students who are in CTE programs. They had asked me to recommend a group, and I recommended that group. They met approval, and then they sent me word to invite them. So Christine Peterson's Lewiston High School Public Safety Academy, Public Service Academy will be in attendance.
Awesome.
For the
Yeah,
entire
great.
conference or just like the opening?
I think there's a particular day that they're there, but we don't have all of those details.
Okay, that's awesome.
Have they dropped their agenda? I didn't see their agenda on the,
It's in Board Docs.
I have-
Uploaded
All the
it
way
for you.
down. If you go
Pardon?
past-
oh gracious. FSBA's agenda is in there?
Is this what you're talking about?
Well, that's where I would be.
Yeah, it's like, okay, she sent the information from a few
Okay. Anything
All right.
else?
Undecided. I'll have to-
Generic.
Okay, but can y'all decide?
Yeah.
Okay. December 3rd board meeting. The district is closed for the week prior to Thanksgiving, and we can do something following. That means that during the week of Thanksgiving, nobody's gonna be here to get your agendas out, to get your packets done, and it's December 3rd. We can move and have one meeting in December that is scheduled for the 17th, or reschedule the third meeting, the December 3rd meeting, to the 10th and cancel the 17th. Okay, so we could,
I say it.
Do one on the 17th?
pardon?
You're just talking about doing one on the 17th? I think that would
Traditionally, we
be,
have, yeah,
I think that'd be the easiest.
you can do the decision really is cancel the 3rd,
Yeah.
and then schedule it either the 17th or the 10th.
I said 17th was kind of a regular, would have been a regular
Regular
day anyway.
So what, the 17th? Okay.
Okay,
17th, can we have permission to pay the bills on the 3rd? Or we probably won't need them
that's
on the
permission
3rd.
to pay the
Yes.
bills.
Yeah, we probably
And
won't
we
need
do
them.
that when we have one meeting months.
Probably won't need it on the 3rd.
So in December, we have one meeting on the
We
17th.
might have to change, do another date, Ms. Ricardo.
Oh, heck, I'm sitting here with the tentative agenda in my hand. Here. That's it.
What date is that Tampa deal we go to?
That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You and I normally go up
I think it's
on
Wednesday, Thursday,
Wednesday.
Friday.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday,
Wednesday,
Friday.
Thursday.
That would be
do
what
our-
dates, though? What are those dates again?
Tuesday. the
4th
third.
through the 6th.
Yeah, the 4th is that Wednesday,
December?
December.
So is the 17th tentative or?
I get the impression that's
It's
a
okay.
go.
I saw you were talking to Anne Marie's. You're good.
You gonna go attend, Reverend?
The 4th through the 6th? Yeah. Do
And
that.
if they do
We
the
have to do that.
presentation,
Yeah, well, when can we
Open.
find out,
Yeah.
when will we find out about the presentation?
what day and
Or
time?
what day that is, cause,
Because if they
I'll
do it
call.
on Wednesday
I will
morning.
find out, if you can remind me,
Yeah, that's
we'll
fine.
call up there to see when. And it's not a presentation,
Yeah.
it's gonna be like you walk past and they'll have like booths set up.
But still, those are our kids
Yeah.
and our people.
Oh, I'm gonna be like, those are my kids!
Yeah, that's what I thought you might wanna come see. You might wanna come drive up for that and then go home, I don't know. But I will find out when that is.
yeah, definitely let's find that out for sure.
Okay, we're That's all you need?
That's what I wanted to cover.
Mr. Banta?
Just thank you again to Ms. McCarty for all of her enthusiasm. I genuinely love your passion for numbers.
Yeah.
Way beyond my scope.
John?
Sir,
Yes, sir. You have any?
thank you very much. No, we're good. I'm good. I know it's surprising. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Houston?
Okay, yes, I do. I know that, we attended that FSBA forum. I attended, Amanda attended it, and, or Mrs. Nelson attended, and so did Dr. Berg. It was it was the, it wasn't the finance, it was collective bargaining, and it was talking about personnel. And one of the things that they said, because, I know that there's gonna be transition coming up in the future, and, situating ourselves as a board, and taking care of our duties. One of the things that they said was we should be doing evaluations of 2 people in a district, and one's a superintendent, and one is the, school board attorney. And, I know that an evaluation of like an elected superintendent would be, they absolutely do them for appointed, an elected superintendent would, you could get pushback on it, but I certainly feel, at least an annual evaluation of our one employee, as our school board attorney would be prudent, just to provide guidance, and feedback, and clearly outline expectations. I know that we could possibly take a look at other districts and how they're evaluating and what methods they're using for evaluating, if anybody is interested in that. And completing that, helps with whomever's in that position in the board and their working relationships.
And you would compare this with a similar district, one with an elected?
Well, I would want to see what other districts are using as their evaluation tool.
I mean, if you want to go collect that data and bring it back to us, and let us see what you find out, I'm okay with that, but.
Just kind of, so you're talking about evaluating the attorney's, how he's performing for us or not performing for us?
Yeah, like
and
based on
would
his contract and what's expected of the contract. Like a sample I saw, rate communication between the attorney and the board, or you as a board member.
So are you suggesting that we sit down as a group with the attorney and do a evaluation, or do a one-on-one with him, or we just rate him on our own, or what would you?
You do you do your own evaluations one-on-one, and, you submit them all. And you have a scale from, everybody's,
Submit them
because
to-
collectively, we are one body, but the evaluation is between the board member and the attorney.
So we would turn them into the superintendent,
Pardon?
or who would you turn your evaluations into?
No. Well, yeah. Any way you want to do it. Now, when you went to the FSBA, you have one employee, the attorney.
Yep.
Now, you can do it collectively and sit around and do that. Each board member can individually do an evaluation. And then it can be submitted to, the superintendent is the secretary to the board. So that person could then go ahead and do some sort of compilation of where the strengths and weaknesses are. But the important thing for the board to come up with is the instrument that you'd be using. And that's where I think you need to look at what other people are doing. Now, yes, there would be pushback from, I don't think there's an elected superintendent that gets an evaluation from the board. I could stand to be corrected, but I don't think that happens.
Kind of pointless, isn't it?
Pardon?
Kind of pointless,
No,
isn't it?
I mean-
For us, really what?
Well,
do you have?
the elected superintendent is evaluated by the public.
Right, that's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
now, Could the board members come in and say, hey, you're not doing this, if you would do it this way, we think we would understand and do our job better? Yeah, that part is already open. But I don't think you'll find a formal evaluation for an elected superintendent. Just like you were saying, could we look at the supplements a different way?
Right.
Okay, because also with the elected superintendent, statutory requirements are, you do that, I do this, okay?
Right.
Oh,
So
excuse
would,
me.
would it be agreeable to provide direction to superintendent to collect measurement instruments from other districts?
I'd say we could see what others are doing, I mean, just to, and then we could make a decision on if that's what we wanna do or not.
Oh, yeah, I
That's
mean,
what
that's
we
fair,
wanna
yeah,
do.
just to see what they look like and if it's worth our investment, but I know that that was one of the things that they really said that we needed to be doing.
Mhm. We can look at it, I don't see, there's no harm in looking at it.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Just make sure you get enough of those tools, because like Mr. Gilley said, the most important thing is a good tool,
Hmm.
is that instrument. So get some, look at them, and talk about them before you pull one out and want to start using it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and that's what this process is gathering the tools to look at them to see if they're worth using or they
We
fit.
Create our own tool based
You know,
on other.
you possibly, and that would, maybe something we
You
could,
get current evaluations.
To come up with one on our
I
own.
could
Well-
find some, but.
to look
Yeah,
at,
like if we looked at
Our
others and we liked
samples
this
and-
part and we liked this part and we liked
If
this
you
part.
approve that, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just curious.
Mr. McKinley,
Yes, sir.
does any other district that you represent currently do this?
No, and that is, in the aggregate, almost 60 years,
Okay.
60 district years.
So
to
you
speak.
know of any
Yes.
districts that do this?
Yes, I do know of some districts that do it. I believe, the ones that I can recall, they are in-house attorneys
Okay,
as opposed to the outhouse arrangement. But that doesn't preclude you from doing it,
sure.
you know. And if there are things that, you know, we can do to improve your relationship with the board attorney and use that resource more effectively, that's very worthwhile. So I am certainly not adverse to it, but it's, you
Okay.
know, it's never happened before.
I mean, I didn't know if it was common practice between bigger districts or,
See, bigger districts are gonna have, like Palm Beach has like 11 lawyers and 20 staff members. So there's a whole lot of evaluating going on in that environment.
yeah, but smaller districts tend not to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Now we'll get on it.
okay. Thank you, and another thing I just wanted to bring up, and I bring to the, my colleague's attention, was I saw a picture of a thermometer from inside a school bus. And it was 110 degrees.
Preaching to the choir.
I
I
believe-
rode the Felder bus all my childhood. I rode the double garden bus. all my
And
childhood.
I am curious as to, I mean, we talk about not being able to get bus drivers, well, there's your sign, 110 degrees. What can we, is there anything we can do as far as retrofitting those buses? I mean, to make that,
Yes, and I have delved into that. Okay, first of all, we did not used to buy air-conditioned buses, but now we buy for a year. That's gonna take us forever to get them out. The current price tag to just retrofit every bus with an AC unit is $700,000. We have gone to the company that does this and said, can you do X number of buses per year? They have not responded to us yet. Ms. McCarthy, is that the truth?
We're waiting
Right.
for our first one to come off the line after a year. We issued the first purchase order a year ago.
To retrofit one with AC? Really?
and it's taken them a year to get to it?
Yeah, we're not buying Bluebird buses this year.
We were one of the last districts to buy non-air conditioned buses. Everybody else was doing it. And I have ridden the Monturo run, and it is miserable. It is, that's when I got off that bus, to Mr. Worth at the time, the buses we buy from this point on need to be air conditioned.
Yeah.
It is, because what you do then, take Clewiston, for example, you park kids in a parking lot for 10 or 15 minutes or longer and let them bake in there. So then you have behaviors on the bus. I mean, you're gonna have behaviors on the bus anyway, but put a bunch of hot kids in a bus for a long time and it's not moving. It is not a fun drive.